Greetings, guys. How are you? Just a second, we'll start with you. We resume our main message or topic.
Records. Oh na 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 na. Oh na 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 yeah. Banana kala. Na 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 na. Anina wani. Anina sawa. Oh yeah. Anina Equatorian. Na sawa. Anina Equatorian. Beled wahid, anina Equatorian. Anena, anina Equatorian. Oh yeah, kanita min yambio, kanita min tori, weleta min juba, yeah. Anina Equatorian. Teresia samagesi manena. Yeah. We strong, we stand together. Yeah. Kanina gulu wahi, Equatoria birapa. Yalpilwa pijama, asan bellet na birapa. So give us pen, don't give us guns. Oh yeah. Give us ibanabule. Oh yeah. Anina Equatoria. Nasawa, anina Equatoria. Beled wahid, anina Equatoria. Anena, anina Equatorian. Oh yeah, kanita zande, kanita mai, au kukuye, anina Equatorian. Kelene na hibone fusina, kebilia kede maferiganina. Salam wa sahaba, dehaja delino, hasan belet na biraba, arif ma bisaido. So give us pen, don't give us guns. Oh yeah. Give us ipanabule. Oh yeah. Anina Equatorian. Nasawa, anina Equatorian. Beled wahid, anina Equatorian. Anena, anina Equatorian.
Nina kulu sawa jama. So my pelfanan ngala. I love my people and I'm the voice.
Acholi ya buga ya baka, koni kabalanda bare, kakuwa kili kukuku, lambo lugoya. Acholi tokosa mundo, nyangara morobe mare, mundare, nyambara, otumu mare makotulo, lubara bunga ya lobe, lodo
tokosa mundo,
nare,
anna kulu nasi sawa. Mafi hata bigesi manena, siasa mabigesi manena, anina wahe.
Well, good afternoon to you guys who live in the United States. Good morning to you also in the West Coast of the United States. Good afternoon for those who are in Europe, Africa, or good evening to you. And then good morning uh, to those who live in Asia, Australia, and other areas. Well, Um, I'm just here to talk about something that really uh, been bothering me a lot, and I know, like the sister said, up to when. She wrote down there, and I understand up to when. But the question is not up to when. The real question is, Equatorians, are you really aware of your history to the extent that you're willing to die for it and save it and protect it? Or you just assume to know your history based on what you know, but not really trying to do your best to achieve or to continue building the history that our ancestors have not yet finished, because our ancestors have done their best to give us the baton to continue the mission. Unfortunately, seems like our Equatorians today, under this tyrannical uh, oppression that is going against us, we begin to be reluctant, begin to be hesitant, accepting our faults, accepting to be in the position of slavery more than resisting and fighting back for our people and our ancestors and for our people who are living in the next generation. Well, I don't have to talk in point of philosophy or trying to give you big words to impress you. I'm not here to impress you. I'm here really heartbroken because our people have been going through many heartache and many pain. People have lost hope and lost hope because most of us as Equatorians are not ready. Some of us, especially, they don't want to fight back. They don't want to stand up. I know there's some young men and women who are fighting down there, but what about us, those who are outside diaspora? You guys want us to be continually under the notion that we are South Sudanese. Before you go to South Sudan, look at yourself. You heard the music in a minute ago. Talk ehna Equatorian. We are Equatorian. Mentioning all the tribes of Equatoria and mentioning how Equatoria is one. You know, nothing will divide us. No politics, no religion, not even South Sudan will divide us. We have to defend it. So there's one thing I'll say here, according to one of great scholars before. He's gone now. He's no longer here. His name was John Henry Clark. He used to say, once said, that history is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. It's also a compass that people use to find themselves on the map of human geography. If you understand that point, that history is a clock, that means every person have a right, have a duty to do something. We all have a purpose. Makhalogone hina without a purpose. We are all born with a purpose. And the purpose is we need to take action on that time, because time is always against humanity. And time does not forgive. Time does not give mercy. When you let your people suffer and without any solution, then you're letting your people down and you're letting your history to be in disarray. And tomorrow people will look at you, nothing but a conquered people, abused people, people who have no future. Like again, I'll repeat, John Henry Clark once said that history is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. It's also a compass that people use to find themselves. I want you to think about that. Finding themselves is a compass to find yourself on the map of human geography. The role of history is to tell people where they have been, what they have been, where they are, and what they are. I'll repeat it again. The role of history is to tell people who they have been, what they have been, where they are, and what they are. But the most important of all, the role of history, properly learned, tells the people where they still must go and they must still be. And they still must be. So if you understand that message, you clearly understand the purpose of history. Today, sadly, since I've seen social media, there's a lot of confusion challenging Equatorians today. And those elements of confusion are the ones who are now become a great instrument to distract us from what is our real purpose and what's our real issue and who's our real enemy. And those elements are causing havoc, causing chaos, causing, you know, almost people to lose hope. But for me, as an Equatorian nationalist, and all those brothers and sisters who stand for Equatoria will continue speaking out until the conscience of Equatoria rise up so we can rise to make something different. I say this, I'm not going to stay here longer, but I say this because I have seen so much, resistance from those elements who are trying to create confusion and instability. They are comfortable with the misery of Equatoria. They don't want to see Equatoria rise. They don't want to see Equatoria comes to their potential and do something right. Every time when we speak for Equatoria, they feel like why we speak for Equatoria, why we can't speak for South Sudan. But what is South Sudan? Let me get to you to understand. I want you to put this question to yourself. When you do self-reflection, make sure you as an Equatorian self-reflect on the history. Like I've just mentioned ago, people to know their history, they need to know who they were, what they have been, and where they have been, and where they're going to be. Because you cannot come out and believe that just because somebody, today trying to control you based on a not the accurate history, based on a history that just try to cover up your true identity, your true essence, then you have no place. Looking back in this reflection, you always have to know that you have a purpose. As a son and daughter of Equatoria, you cannot sit down and say, oh, I cannot do anything. I'm not able to. You can do more than you can imagine. When we live in the West, do you think the Westerners always have that put that language or that rhetoric say we cannot do it? It's impossible for us. And the Westerners, they never look back to themselves in the position of giving up or surrendering. They never look at themselves as it's impossible. And they never look at themselves as competitors or enemies or anything like that. They look at themselves as one people, one family. And they're always focused on that objective. The purpose of us being here today is because of our ancestors. If it wasn't them, we would never be here. Today, we're in the 21st century. We have more things than them. We have technology, we have knowledge, even we have freedom more than they had. Those people fought for their freedom. We already gained our freedom, but yet we let our freedom be taken away from us because we don't want to work hard for it. We don't want to stand up for it. Our people are not longer respected like it before. Our people are being treated as almost they're nobodies. Yet we still want to run around being tail of others instead of looking at ourselves. Like I said again, what Mr. Henry was once said, that the people that know their history, they will always search the compass. They will use it as a compass so they can find their legacy in this human map. Or they will not find themselves in a position of being in a safe side. Like today, we are in danger, and we have a duty. Like I said, the duty is to carry our ancestors' mission that trusted on us because they trusted us that we're going to continue. They had the confidence. They did their part. Now it's our turn. But what are we doing? Are we really looking at ourselves in that spirit, in that mindset of Equatoria? Are we just selling ourselves cheap for the notion that we are, assimilated to those people and they are stronger than us and we have to give up? And while those people, they don't even know their history more as we know about our history. Our history is being built, not just written, built by our ancestors to the point that our unity became reality. Now we are trying to let that unity be broken so easily into the rhetoric that we are either Eastern, Western, or Central. We must not allow that language to come in our mouth. No, we accept that word to be our own, identity, because identity Tana, the real identity Tana, is Equatoria. We have to always maintain that identity. Break anything, any notion that comes from outside to break us into parts. Like earlier, you heard that music. The guy was talking about we are Equatorian. He never said I am Central or Eastern or Western. He never said that, oh, I'm a South Sudanese. He said I'm an Equatorian. That's an identity. Once you know your identity, you're actually able to fight for it and you're able to even go far. Because any people don't have their history, they'll be lost in the sea of confusion because they will never be able to come back. to the census to see where they want, what the direction they're trying to take. We have a direction. We have a purpose. Just think about it and think about the future of the generation to come after you. Are they going to be proud of you one day to say, oh, my parents or my dad or my grandfather or my grandmothers, the generation of the millennial, because right now they consider some of us millennial and some of those who in the early, I mean, before the late, uh, 20th century, uh, been part of this history of the in making, which is now Equatoria have been assimilated because of many errors that have been done. Are we going to continue with these errors? Or are we going to correct it? And the correction is how? We need to always focus on what is matter to us, not what does not matter to us. Equatoria is not something that can be just given, a definition in one minute. It's something that beyond even the definition of those who come try to manipulate our history and tell us things that is not true. We are the carriers of our own, people history, and we need to maintain it and we need to rebuild what was lost and need to recover it to the extent we can go forward because Equatoria have the potential. The others, they are fighting for their own survival and their own greed for power, but we don't want power as much as we want our freedom, our sovereignty. Our sovereignty is our power, not seeking the power that where you dominate others. You could have seen, I'll give you an example of Russia during the time of Soviet Union, World War II. When after World War II, what happened? Stalin collected all the other nations under and against their will, forced them to be under the force or the communist or the communist system, which was later called the Soviet Union. And this Soviet Union was built on blood of innocent people. 100 and I think 200 to 100 million were massacred by a dictator. A man who didn't care even for God. He didn't even believe in God. He made sure that he will massacre anyone who will object. And they kept the system for almost what? I could remember how many years until the late 80s. That's when the Soviet Union have fallen. And when it fell, those countries that was under the oppression of the Soviet Union, it exited the unity that was forced against them. And this unity was just built on terror, not built on truth, not built on agreement or, based on that mutual respect and understanding. What I say here today, this South Sudan that was once given to us, we were voting for it. We were betrayed during that voting. Because if we were not betrayed, we would never be today under these terrible circumstances that our people are going through. The abuse, the deprivation of our people, the marginalization of our people, to the extent the terror that committed to our people, and add to it, they used even some of our brothers and sisters to go against us as collaborators, as traitors, as enemies of Greater Equatoria. Those are the people who really didn't care because they only care about their own bellies. But history will judge them for that. Not us, but history. But when time comes, things will change. I do have hope that Equatoria will be a nation. And I'm an Equatorian nationalist, believe in the separation of Equatoria because that's the only solution. And no one up to this moment can convince me Equatoria have no right to be a nation. Like I said, when we came as South Sudanese at that time, there was a false notion, a false idea called South Sudan, identity that was not us, because in reality, our true identity was Equatorian from the start. The people in Upper Nile, they had their identity Upper Nile, but they're not using or practicing Upper Nile. Instead, they're practicing tribalism, and they lived in tribalism for centuries. The same thing with Bahar Gaza. What happened to Equatoria, Equatoria was unique. Equatoria was established by their ancestors. The ancestors who built our time, our legacy, our truth through their unity. Today, Equatoria is undermined while Equatoria is supposed to be respected and honored for that, for the things they have achieved. And the undermining is because we are letting our past to be taken away from us in front of us. Yet we are living, yet we are aware of what it is, and Equatoria must not be let down. The worst thing of it, In this time that we see ourselves, you know, confused in our opinions and ideas and politics, it becomes really dangerous that now Equatoria to fight for themselves is become a challenge. To fight for themselves for survival, to fight for their independence, to fight for their even just existence as people, has become a challenge. And I beseech those brothers and sisters of Greater Equatoria, those academics, those intellectuals, to stand up truthfully and honest and honorable for the name of Greater Equatoria. Let them not look at themselves as if they are must be praised and worshipped and honored. So they whatever they say, even if it was against the people of Equatoria, people must listen to them. No, we cannot. We will never listen because you are turning your side, your back against the people who have, you know, established what is now called Equatoria. You cannot let us down. You need to come down humbly and save the people who needed you the best and the most. Your knowledge will help us to be free. Your wisdom will give us the opportunity to rise out of this mess that we are in instead of running after only your interest, the interest that does not help Equatoria to rise, does not help Equatoria to be who they are. In my point here, I don't want to go far, that if you understand that you as a person, man or woman, you have a purpose and you were born for a reason, you need to do the right thing. Don't look up to position or prestige or whatever. Look at the self-sacrifice. Give yourself, if it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, academic, whatever, just do it for the sake of Equatoria. Because tomorrow your people will remember. The history will not forget. I give you another example. The Israelis, when they were chased away from Europe and they were abused in Europe, when they had to come to their senses, looking back to the history that their ancestors have left for them, remember the land of Zion, the land of Israel. What did they say to themselves? Let's go back and rebuild our home. Then they came up with the idea that we have to build this ideology in ourselves as a community and for the next generation to come, that we must be Zionists. We must believe in the Zionism because Zionism is the thing that will keep Israel safer. It doesn't matter if you're atheist, you're Christian, you are a Jew in religion, as long as you are descendant of Israel, make sure you go back and stand for the land of Israel because it's the land that will give us the opportunity to survive, to live, and to prosper. Because they saw Europe have abused them. They saw Middle East have abused them. So when they came together, they didn't look with fear and terror that they cannot do it, even though they were in disadvantage. Most of them, they had no power. Most of them only depended on themselves. This thing's supposed to be a lesson to us, we the Equatorians today, how Israel overcame many enemies. Around them, they were encircled by Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Jordan, and many others nations that later came that was actually against Israel. Even Russia was supporting Syria to make sure that Syria will overcome this. And Russia, that time, even had population of those Jews. So many of them rebelled against those countries like Russia. They went and escaped and joined the Israeli communities in Israel and said, we will die for it. Last time I had my friend from Israel came and spoke about how Israel stood up. What they did, they focused on their own interest in the future of their people and the generation to come. They said, we have a history. We have a history to carry. We have something to carry in our shoulder. We cannot say it is impossible. We cannot say we cannot do it. So they did anything in their possibility. They work hard, you know, doing anything that could be done, from lobbying, from taking action in the battlefield, from supporting each other financially, from supporting each other even mentally, to support the people, to encourage the young and men. And a lot of them volunteered from all around the world, those who know the importance of the land of Israel. Today we have a land in Equatoria, the land of Greater Equatoria, if it goes to the territory of Torit, to Juba, or to Yambio. All these areas belong to us as Equatorians. We are the natives of this land, not those foreigners who are coming to take over and forcing themselves genetically, forcing themselves economically, forcing themselves with all the power, like politically and also, forcibly, as we could say, to make sure that they eradicate the people of Equatoria from this land. And you could see it; it's happening. People hate us to the extent that they would do anything to destroy us. And yet they say that we are the one who hate them. I don't know where does this hate come from? Because if you love yourself so much, you have to take care of yourself. So we love our people so much that we need to see them prosper and progress. When we believed in South Sudan, we didn't believe in South Sudan that will be oppressing us. We believed in South Sudan that will give us our own right to express our own identity, express our own freedom, express our own, culture and uniqueness. This is what happens when your history is taken away from you. Your political culture and your identity will be taken away from you. And this is more dangerous than you could imagine. So I don't want to prolong, but if you're an Equatorian nationalist who have the conscience, understand the meaning of Equatoria and how Equatoria started, you're supposed to work hard for making sure that Equatoria will become stronger in the unity that we are want and we look for, and also for the purpose of how to save our people from this situation in Nafogo, the conundrum that has been coming to us day and night. Today, there's a lot of divisiveness that try to be building up in social media, but will not allow it. And those divisiveness will not win because we know these elements are only tools used by the enemy. But for us, we, the Greater Equatorians, people of Greater Equatoria, if it is west central, or Eastern, all of us are one people. Let us stop this word East, West, Central. Let's call ourselves Greater Equatoria or the nation of Equatoria better than calling ourselves into those rhetoric. Because when we look at ourselves in different perspective as the enemy wants us to see ourselves into, then we have failed as a society. We have failed as Equatorian. And don't blame other people outside. Blame yourself first because you allowed this failure to happen to you. Equatoria must now we have to self-reflect on ourselves really carefully and look at what Equatoria mean to us. And if we understand that, then we can have the courage to speak out against those who try to divide us, and we have the courage to fight for what is ours and what's our right, and no one will stop us. And I will not have to go far, but Equatoria has meaning beyond just the word. It is something that is living, and we are part of it. So again, I don't want to prolong because I was here for a short moment, and I will try to give a chance to Brother Sabata for a minute. Welcome. So there is a lot of serious situation going on, and I'll leave it here. I don't have to say much. Hello, Mr. Sabata. Welcome. Are you there? You hear me? I can't hear you. All right, guys. Just want to say thank you for. I don't know if Sabata listening to me, but those who are here, reading to you again. The danger is really serious, and we have to take seriousness because Ahanna Hinaktahet, they are now in a position of real need. They in a dire situation. They need our help, and we cannot just sit down and let these things uh, be going on for so long. Our people look up to us in the outside in diaspora, and we also look up to them, those who are down there, to protect the land, never to give up, and never to let those people go and abuse them and continue to, terrorize them as to run away. Because running away is not a solution, but the best way is now to stand for our right. Now the world playing politics, but we can play better than this politics that they're playing. Because this politics is because people are silent, especially the academics on the side of Equatoria, who are playing with the same, program that was set to them to continue. Because if you look at it, they said South Sudan is set to failure. It's actually some politicians from international community have actually come to conclusion that South Sudan is actually programmed for failure. And those are the only frank politician you will hear tell you that. But if you meet a lot of them, they would just try to, tap you on the shoulder and say, it will work. Just go ahead with the peace agreement and all this nonsense. Plus, if you look at the peace agreement, you look at those who are in and out, both of them are part of this mess. I cannot put my trust on them or hope on them. But what we can put hope is on those who have no any participation with these groups, those who have new ideas, those who can bring a solution in the right way. And we Equatorians know our solution is the only way exit. And this exit will be possible. But all you need to do before you come to the understanding of exit is that you have to understand what caused us to be Equatorian. What is the legacy of Equatoria? Because like I said, looking back to your history will give you all the answers that you need. Do not listen to those history that made up recently by those who want to just confuse us into so many primitive mind that looking at ourselves as if we are competitors or enemies to each other when we are not. We Equatorians have resisted the oppression of the Westerners, the Arabs, and now today we are in another challenge by our own fellow, maybe comrade in the past when we were fighting against the Arab. Now they become our worst enemy, and even they're now becoming our greatest enemy that they want to eliminate us from existence. So I won't go far. I think um, Mr. Sabata trying to come in and out. I don't know if he can be. Um, unfortunately, I could not hear you, Brother Sabata. Can you try again? You guys, can you hear him? If can you write down if he's here? Can you hear him? Let me see. I hope he comes back because after this, I wanted to close um, the room, but I just had here for 30 minutes to an hour. I don't want to stay long. المهم رسالة وصل الباقي عليكم. لما احنا جاي نتكلم لازم نتكلم عن خطاب اللي بيساعد استواء يقدر يتوحد فكرة واحد أساس واحد هدف واحد عشان نقدر نمشي لقدام. So Brother Sabat is not here. I don't know where he is. Thank you, Mr. Brother Eunice, Unison. Hello, Brother Sabata. Can you unmute yourself? Can you speak?
Hi, Brother Ethica, can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, now I hear you. Welcome.
Very good. And thank you very much, Brother Ethica, for making this reflection, these 30 minutes of self-reflection on what makes us Equatoria. It is very important. And I also want to come and give a little of my support to what you have just said. And everything you have said is correct. And I want to also add to it that, you know, Wati fellow Equatorians. Anehna Equatorian del, it is true Alasasinu identity beta South Sudan there has confused so many of us. Lakini ya Equatorian kanjina fijet. We are Equatorians, just one of the provinces of Sudan at that time. Communities bitat ala Nil man kaman a province of Sudan. Communities bitat Bahar al Ghazal is a province bitat Sudan. Blue Nile was a province of Sudan. Kano Kordofan wala Darfur was a province of Sudan. Northern province, central province, and kuluna provinces of Sudan at the time. Idea Aljazaral itakun talata del province da Equatoria Bahar al Ghazal wala Nil itakun kina ditakun South Sudan. South Sudan de jaja minwen. Idea de jaja minwen allesagu fi bita Equatorians so much, and Equatorians believe in it so much that they embrace it even if it is to the detriment of Equatoria. Yani it has embraced this identity to South Sudan even if Nas min ala Nil gishari di tabara min Equatoria. I mean, I the taborre min ala gishari di takumbara min Equatoria. Even though Hakuma al-Hasad diga guide wara junude ma fadile itabu siyasat al-kintehi minna nas bitakon fi dual al-ginadi dual these diaspora countries. tanin fi refugee camps fi Uganda, fi Congo. Witu lisa le derin takun mutshaddidin fi bunyan bita haja gina digali Junub Sudan if it is to your detriment. This is something ale jama kede reflect on it biraha kida. Al assassino fi Kamian. Ita Kazol Jai Anazorila from fellow Equatorians. You are just a province of Sudan at one point. First governor Takunza to the province became Hillary Logali. Allah Yarham. Very, very nice person. He jokes with even young guys. I had the privilege to kind of joke with him again and repeatedly because he used to come around. He passed on. What has melted you, Al Assassin, lazim ita humbai nisa ta South Sudanese, ma communities tani na jain min alanilu Bahar even though mabisheri nita. If you are able to find out answers to these questions, brothers and sisters, then you will come to blend the Libisu Equatoria first. If you walk away in a conspiracy theory, a label for us, a large embrace Junub Sudan as your number one identity. This is dangerous. Room there, I think, Etika Fatao, le 30 minutes reflection. Like in one day, Yom Bija, Alanta Kedazu Jageni Falta, Ashanana Bibada unleash or untie those theories, those conspiracy theories. Bada minwen, wa alabukef, lahade abinu Junub Sudan, lahade alela. Sometimes, kanana kikutana, wajana ana can meet youth with the Equatorians conferences. The last conference, Alkana Molofi, Nebraska, I was there. Kanana Gaha will work with my youth. And as you go on Kalapta, Equatorian. Is the magify. Mungkana Nakida, Ketan Update of Park. Mumbar of South Sudan. Mumbar of Naswaldeng, ya Kikulum South Sudan for Casa. Mungilibisu Libisu. Idatel, Alam ta South Sudan, Gali go for Arabat. I get worried. This is youth, the Equatorian. I get worried late, and I get worried as an the last generation. Alanna kan mafata winter yalde. Generation tanda de kan inta kalas. Wallahi yalde la biar daliaki mon kana jato mon province of Sudan at a point. Ubagina sanindel kaman provinces of Sudan at a point. Wanda kan kulu nim satanna guy de identify ni satanna Sudanin. Junub de jaja kef Allah hadiga ahal to montanin muchiridin fi Uganda fi Congo kef de mon ma biaraf. They will never have connection. Lakin fi conspiracy theory kutu fi news, one day, a day will come and Nabibada unleash this conspiracy theory one by one. As not only youth, even some adults, al-mutmesikin fi identity ka Equatoria de, kadoman kamanja, understand how they became psychologically tied to that identity. And is it good for them or not? My brothers and sisters, identity can quest mark Shilu. And as I into passport to America. Is it good with me? I will honestly say yes. Lelano constitution to America can protect that so many things. Why will I refuse that identity? Like in identity, I'll be like refugees. Identity, I'll be like to lands because you target. You cannot protect it. Mama they're protected. Their identity, then something is seriously wrong with you. You need a very yom kid al room as people will start to consult with each other. It can in that identity Canada, Australian or Canadian or American. I'm sure you are proud of that right now. Lela nasita can best talabara and I kida best can security code there to wali if help later. The state has a lot of agents that provide services. Will come to your help. So it will be feel like I'm a proud citizen of this country. Lakin ta Junub Sudan that algina gali South Sudan. Albiga get displaced kabara mi territory staki. Mother staki get raped. Sister staki get raped. Sometimes, but even security agents, nas gilibis uniform. Yela ita gasu. Galde how identity and lazim, that construct, lazim kede kamilu nefsa bitao. Brothers and sisters, that kind of thinking will not take us anywhere. Ana ma bishilu zaman kitir. Again, Ana Boshko, brother Ethica, for opening this room, the 30 minutes reflection of who makes us Equatorian. في اختتام بس أنا بعزو كلام كده. What makes us Equatorian is we have high respect to humanity. Takanayan Equatorians, raha. We have high respect to humanity. I will quote one person, Charles Gordon, who was all is a British officer. At a point, Amulo governor Ganta Sudan, who carry Bible, Sahayir Gira, Ligoja to the southern territories, areas, Manatik Bitana, West Balisa Ma Amulo, governor ta Sudan, Kanamulo, governor ta territory, what is called that territory, the Equatorial Basin, Kamandaka Lisa Masrain, Kani Agiran Dola, that the entire Sudan. Who want to have very important. Who can Gali, these people, some under Christianity, Lisa Majalina. Like these people in the moral values Kanasal Kano embrace Christianity. Like not Christians. These people are very distinct. We are not wild. We were very tamed and in a respect to humanity even before Christianity. People these are very special people. Don't lose it. And that's what makes us Equatorian. Don't lose it. Kantaligo I Equatorian aggressive. That Equatoria has been made aggressive by environment bitao. Ama mashuno nasal guiding jambo bitao. Lakin otherwise anna Equatorian zel wallahi kanana ken leta ngali yake Jesus Christ zato jamin society ta Equatorian, trust me. Very, very high respectful people to values with a moral maintained society. Ana bishilu zaman kitir. Ana conclude kale it is that makes us Equatorian, and let us preserve that identity. Don't embrace South Sudan ashwai, brothers and sisters. Because kanta gani faltas kanta gasa mr egal South Sudanese values they should answer. Keda in South Sudan gani keep shakla all the time. Ainu manatik alanil, ainu manatik communities ta Bahar al-Ghazal. Nas fight. Asa eta karo check radio miraya. I will assure you that people at least 5, 6 died. They had again revenge killings. Cattle herders clashed because of Abu Gartabado. Is this the South Sudanese Equatorian you can be defined under? No, we are way better than that. Yes, Indian communities Abu Gar, they never go and commit what is called mob crime. They only taught themselves how to defend themselves as northern barrier, as Mundari, is it Itakangai, as Toposa, Gabail Del, to maintain Abu Gar, they can only protect themselves when they fall under attack or Abu Gar domination. But Galumongi organized raid. These things don't happen. Check your history very well. That makes us very distinct. It should make us proud because today in the 21st century, these are the kind of behavioral traits or characters that even people who define themselves as civilized, they live like that. So Manatu, Anna Equatorians, Anna live as civilized people, mean bedri. Because we don't do that. Maybe some other time, God bless you all.
All right. Thank you so much, Brother Sabata, for your input. Yeah, definitely. What makes us Equatoria is a lot of things that defines us. Unfortunately, some of our Equatorian today are almost losing it. That's why I tell them you need to reflect and ask yourself what makes us Equatorian. Equatoria is not East, Equatoria is not Central, Equatoria is not Western. Equatoria is Greater Equatoria. The Equatoria that combines us, the Equatoria that have established our history, the Equatoria that who we are and where we are and what we were. So let us not lose that, because this is Equatoria that our ancestors have worked hard to keep it and maintain it. We cannot lose it today for some petty things and for some ridiculous notion calling South Sudan, which does not even exist in reality. And yes, you need to reflect deeper into your senses and understand that Equatoria cannot be the savior of South Sudan, because we gave the chance, but they have betrayed the opportunity. So it's time for us to find our way out for the safety and the salvation of Equatoria. Equatoria will be a nation, like I said. It's only a matter of time, and also a matter of our input and our, activities in the other side. So I don't want to say much here. Thank you for those who joined and listened. If you want to, just rewind it. I don't want to take long on this, because it's actually good to have it short and to put people to listen. And if you have any question or any words you want to ask us later, we'll have another topic later today around maybe evening, talking about جنوب السودان. شنو قاعد يجمعنا كشعب، ما هو اللي يعني. let me read it quickly بس عشان remind you. جنوب السودان ما الذي يربطنا, what ties us as South Sudanese, كشعب أو country. And this is a question that will be open to all to come and put their own thoughts. It will be between, I would say, I'll make it at maybe 6 or 5 in the evening, my time. So that way it will be easier, because I'll be that time finished by my duties. But I just wanted to remind you that ده السؤال لأي زول طرحناه، إن كان أنت من على النيل أو بحر الغزال, or Equatorian like us. We come on and put your thoughts. We want to hear. نقدر نتعمق فوق. And remember, as an Equatorian, you need to reflect on yourself as Great Equatorian. Until then, we thank you. God bless. And I'll put our music that always reminds us who we are as we Equatorian, again, by this musician. I forgot his name, but I think his name Fanana. But I want to say thank him also for his great message and music. And God bless you all.
GOE Records. Oh na 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 na. Oh na 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 na, yeah. Banana kala. Na 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 na. Anina wani. Anina sawa. Oh yeah. Anina Equatorian. Nasawa. Anina Equatorian. Beled wahid, anina Equatorian. Anina Equatorian. Oh yeah. Kanita min yambio, kanita min tori, weleta min juba, yeah. Anina Equatorian. Teresia samagesi wanina. Yeah. We strong, we stand together. Yeah. Kanihna guluwahi, Equatoria biraba, Yabirwa pijama, Asan Belet na biraba. So give us pen and give us guns. Oh yeah. Give us Ibana Bule. Oh yeah. Anina Equatorian. Nasawa, Anina Equatorian. Beled wahid, anina Equatorian. Anina Equatorian. Oh yeah. Kanita zande, kanita mai, au kukuye. Anina Equatorian. Kelele na hibo nefusina, kebilia kede maferiganina. Salam wa sahaba, behaja derino, Hassan Belena biraba, Arif ma Beside. So give us pen and give us guns. Oh yeah. Give us Ibana Bule. Oh yeah. Anina Equatorian. Nasawa, Anina Equatorian. Beled wahid, anina Equatorian. Anina Equatorian.
Nina kulu sawa jama. So my help ngala. I love my people and I am the voice.
Acholi ya buga ya baka, Equatorian balanda bare, kakuwa kiniko lango lugoya, asante tokosa mundo, nyangara morove made, mundare, nyambara, otumo pare makotulo, lubara buga ya lobe, lodo nare,
mundo,
nare,
anakulu nasi sawa. Mavi hata bigesi manena, siasa mabigesi manena, anina wahe.
Thank you. We'll see you later. Bye for now, and God bless. All right, guys, in Facebook, YouTube, and other channels, I want to say thank you for joining us, those who are with us. Greeting Sister Sheba. Been a while. Sister, all the sisters who are here and all the brothers who are here. Thank you and God bless you. Until then, nashufkum later. Bye for now.